A nation devastated by a pandemic, more than 225,000 dead.
Anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as President of the United States of America.
Social injustice and unrest across the country also dominating the political debate.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
He did such harm to the black community, and he called them super predators.
Control of the Senate also at stake, along with key congressional races here on Long Island. The political climate triggering a tidal wave of voters flooding into polling places in what may be the most important election in a lifetime. Welcome to Newsday's special election coverage. I'm Jessie. Well, the clock has struck midnight and we're bringing you results in the key races as they come in. On top of that, Newsday's team of political experts is on board giving you the information that you won't get anywhere else. Long Islanders and people around the world are waiting to see how the race for president ends up. Here's a quick overview of the battle for the White House. It's really tight here. It looks like Biden is slightly in the lead. Here's an overall look at how the race is shaping up nationwide. Illinois has gone for Biden. However, other swing states like Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan appear to be leaning towards Trump at this point. If it stays that way, it could be an uphill climb for the former vice president. Now some early local numbers. Here's a look at the race for the 3rd Congressional District, where incumbent Tom Suozzi is being challenged by Republican George DeVolder Santos. And right now it's really tight. It looks like Santos is slightly in the lead. Democrat Jackie Gordon challenging Andrew Garbarino in the 2nd Congressional District. The early numbers show that Garbarino is in the lead right now. In the 1st Congressional District, incumbent Republican Lee Zeldin is trying to fend off a challenge from political newcomer. That's Democrat Nancy Goroff, and right now it looks like Zeldin is taking the lead. The Democratic Party has been spending big to support first-term state senators like Monica Martinez, but Republican Alexis Wyke is trying to unseat the incumbent in the 3rd State Senate District. And here is how the numbers look so far. Looks like those are not up, but we do have those numbers there at newsday.com. Another state Senate race that's being watched is between Democrat Laura Ahern and Republican Assemblyman Anthony Palumbo. They're vying for a seat in the 1st District being vacated by Republican Kenneth Laval. And right now, it looks like Palumbo is in the lead in that race. Now, usually political parties host huge events on election night. Newsday's Chelsea Irizarry went to Suffolk Republican headquarters to see how the GOP is handling election night and the age of the coronavirus.
Good evening. Well, things are very different this year. Due to COVID-19 concerns, the Suffolk GOP will be having a virtual event now. We're outside of GOP headquarters here in Medford, where our photographer just got a look inside. Usually candidates and supporters gather together after polls close and watch as results come in. But again, this year, many are watching from their homes. We spoke to Suffolk GOP Chairman Jessie Garcia outside GOP campaign headquarters. Here's what he had to say.
Sure, I think that what we're going to do is we're going to be prudent. We're going to see, we had a game plan. We know that what numbers we had to reach on Election Day. So our goal was to get past the early voting numbers. And then after meeting that milestone, we were going to get past and go get a majority over whatever outstanding absentee ballots were out there. That's what our job is.
Again, Garcia says he feels cautiously optimistic that Republicans will come out on top. Reporting from Medford, I'm Chelsea Irizarry for Newsday.
Some great reporting by Chelsea there. Joining us now to discuss the hot races, Newsday's team of political experts. Joining us once again, let's say hello to columnist Joy Brown, White House correspondent Laura Figueroa Hernandez, and Albany Bureau Chief Yancey Roy. Guys, it's getting late. We know this is how election night goes. Laura, let's start with you right now, our White House correspondent. What are you hearing from the campaigns this evening?
So we've heard from the Trump campaign. They've sent out a massive mailer to their supporters, of kind of an appeal saying, you know, let there be a winner declared tonight. It's still early, and a lot of these states are still at 40, 50% of votes being tabulated. but Trump has been pushing for a winner to be declared tonight, and is trying to kind of cast, questions about the legitimacy of the result if there isn't a victor declared tonight. Now, what we're hearing from the Biden campaign is patience. If, several campaign advisors have taken to social media and have said, patience, patience, we're still waiting for the results to come in. They're confident that when absentee votes are counted, some of these states that are leaning towards Trump are going to shift back to the blue. We'll see if that happens. We were also hearing from some of the secretaries of states that it is going to be a long night. Pennsylvania is saying that they're not going to have the results tabulated tonight. We've known that all along. They're going to, a lot of the counties are not going to begin counting absentee ballots until tomorrow. The Secretary of State of Wisconsin has said she doesn't foresee results being announced tonight, and the same goes for Michigan. So these are three key states that both campaigns have been eyeing, and these three states are saying they're not going to have results tonight. That may change. It's midnight, but we're taking their word for it. So we'll see.
And I'm glad that you hit on the results there, because I do want to ask Yancey about that. As we go throughout the night, we're going to see different candidates either claiming victory, maybe conceding, but we're not really going to know the full results. How does that work out? How is that different this year than past years?
Well, you've got way more absentee ballots to be counted. I mean, in years past, the absentees only made a difference in races that were like 50-50 and needed a small difference of change to switch an outcome. That's really different this year because we've got millions of votes just in New York alone being cast absentee. So what you might have is, if you were writing a headline, is in some of these races is so-and-so leads for now until we get some of these votes counted. That said, we have seen some kind of dramatic turns in the last hour on some of these local races. A lot of them moving in more Republicans' favor. As you mentioned, Lee Zeldin now way out ahead of Nancy Goroff. Andrew Garbarino some 40,000 votes ahead of Jackie Gordon in the Congressional District 2. So with a 40,000 vote lead, even if there are 50,000 absentees to be counted in that district, if that 40,000 margin holds for Garbarino, well, then he looks pretty solid there as a win. Also in state Senate districts, we've had a turn for Republicans. As you mentioned, Alexis Wyke is leading, Anthony Palumbo is leading, Edmund Smith is leading, and Dennis Dunn is leading. Those are four of the big nine races that we were following on Long Island. All of those have a lot of absentee ballots out to be counted. But at the same time, we're seeing margins grow in Republicans' favor that it might be hard for Democrats at this moment, as we're talking at midnight, to overcome. For example, Palumbo now ahead of Ahern by 17,000 votes. There are 32,000 absentees to be counted, but making up a 17,000 vote difference, if that's how it holds, would be very hard for Ahern. So, like I said, in the last hour, it started to turn Republicans' direction on a lot of these local races.
And Joy, I just want to bring you in to comment on what Yancey was just talking about when we're looking at a lot of these races that could be going red, but there are still some ballots that haven't been counted. What are your thoughts on this?
And you have to remember, as Yancey has said before, Long Island is purple. So for Democrats in Suffolk County, when you are running for office, in Democratic County Chairman, Suffolk County Chairman Richie Schaefer says, you have to understand that you are campaigning in a purple area. And when you're in Nassau County, in talking to Party Chairman Joe Cairo, who is the Republican Party chair, he'll tell you, listen, Nassau's not like what it used to be. It's not all Republican anymore. But people in Nassau want suburban life. People in Nassau some people in Nassau are very, very worried about being so close to New York City and all that they think that New York City is. And these are things that the Republicans in Nassau have managed to campaign on and be very, very successful at. And in Suffolk, Jesse Garcia, we saw him earlier. He said he was going to get that vote out on Election Day. And the thing that Jesse Garcia and Joe Cairo both have in common, both Republican Party chairs on Long Island, is that They spent, before they became chairman, they were the marshals. They were the election day marshals. They were the people who went and got out the vote. And I think what you're seeing is Joe Cairo getting out his vote and Jesse Garcia getting out his vote. And Jesse tells you, what I wanted to do was make up what the Democrats did in terms of absentee balloting and early voting. That was his goal. Now, is it going to end up that way? We won't know until all the votes are counted. And I just want to add one more thing. Lauren talked about declaring victory on election night. I don't think most people realize that on election night, when candidates declare victory or concede, the vote totals are not, or they're not official yet. These are all unofficial votes. And what happens is that the boards of election go through and they check everything and make sure everything is okay. And the official vote tallies don't come out until much later. So there is nothing unusual about not having an official vote on election night. It's just that most people assume that what you hear on election night is the official, but what you're really hearing is the unofficial tally. And that's going to make a big difference this year. And I think a lot more people are going to be learning the difference between official and unofficial tallies this year.
On the local stage and potentially on the national stage too. So I'm glad you made that point. Thank you so much, Joy. We'll be checking in with them throughout the night. You all make sure to keep it here for all of your results. You can also get them at newsday.com. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back. I'm Faith Jessie with Newsday.